I'll show you. This is Miss Payne's photo on the back of her book, Diamond Doris. And this is the hardcover. And we also have a paperback, which I have behind me here. And here's her paperback and everything. And Miss Doris Payne was an international jewel thief.
Oh, I was.
Yes, you were, Mama. The best. The best. And so the first time I heard about Miss Payne, another writer friend of mine showed me an article in the LA Times. And I read it, and it was about Miss Payne and how for years she had taken these, well, I won't say stolen because, you know, all diamonds come from Africa, and, you know, and maybe they all belong to us anyway. And so I read the article, and I was just fascinated by her life story, because it seems she's a woman who's not going to let anybody else define her or determine what she does, any of those things. And I just felt like I had to know her, and I wanted to do a book with her. And it took some doing for us to finally come together. And it was years in between reading that article in the Los Angeles Times that Jervy Turvalon shared with me, to finally signing a deal. And so, Ms. Payne, people in this audience want to know, how does one get a book deal? And so, and I think our story is quite unique here. So do you want to start by telling us, when's the first time you thought to yourself that you wanted to write a book?
Actually, excuse me, I have never thought about writing a book, ever. I overheard a conversation in the federal building. It was an agent conversing with a reporter there.
An FBI agent?
Mm-hmm. And he told, I overheard the conversation, and he told him, you want to write a book? And I guess the man said, yeah. I don't recall hearing him in particular. He said, well, right there, you see the woman right there? Get her. That's where I first heard about a book, and perhaps I did not give much verbal conversation to anyone about it. The first few people that I vaguely mentioned it to cut me off at the pass, and who do you think you are? I got that.
And so what I did after I read the article, I tried to track you down. And I came across some people who kept telling me things like, oh, if you do this, you do that, I might let you talk to her. You know, and I can't like take a chance like that, where they might let me talk to her if I gave them some money, basically. That's not how this works. You know, when you get ready to get a book deal, I need to talk to you first. I need to see what you have written. I need to read and evaluate it. I need to share it with people in-house for their opinion as well. And then together, we decide what type of advance that we can offer a particular project. And so it just so happened that Miss Payne had a figure in her mind, which she will not share with us. But it was also the same figure we had in mind. And so I was excited to come to her literary agent because she was represented by someone else now, a legitimate person, Scott Mandel, who sent me a proposal, and I read it. And I thought, I'm not too sure about the voice and collaborator situation. And so I made an offer that was under what Miss Payne and I were thinking, because I wanted to make sure I had the right person working with her, the right person who had the right respect, who would also understand and listen carefully and value Miss Payne's voice. And so I went to her agent and I made the offer that was accepted. And we put Miss Payne together with a writer, and then they took it from there. And so, Miss Payne, can you still hear us?
Yes, good.
Okay.
See you too.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So will you tell the audience how you felt once I made the offer to you?
I don't know if the offer overpowered my thinking. I was probably more elated at the name of the publishing house. You just can't have that much luck. And everything was just so soft and easy and talk to me. And I was just over the moon with ego to myself about Harper, just the word. I knew where I never thought I should be in a comic book.
I agree.
Thank you. Yeah.
And from the first time we spoke, I just felt a kinship with you, Miss Payne.
I did too. It was like a prayer being answered. Baby Jesus, if I ever get anybody my complexion to write a book about me, I just hope that it will be someone who can think a little bit like I might have been thinking at times.
Yes, and I think we think similarly. I love the
I got
brazenness.
that. I got that. You would not have been at Harper if you didn't have that.
Thank you. Thank you. I love being at Harper, and I love
your being
Amistad.
there.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. And so tell us a little bit about the publishing process. Like, what did it mean when you first saw the book in your hands? What did that feel like? And let people know the length of the journey.
One Uh, my journey was difficult because I attempted to make sure my own people had a shot at working with me. But I also knew, not was aware, knew that we would have to have a lot in common as hearing the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I enjoy that, in every narrative that I read, when the truth resonates from a story, resonates, it connects with my soul. And those are the types of books I'm always looking for.
Great.
And Miss Payne, someone has asked a question in the question box, and I think I'll answer it, and then we'll come back to our story. Okay?
Sure.
Okay, and the question is this. Tracey, how often or likely is it that a book which is already self-published would be offered a deal with a major publisher? So it is very often. It used to be even more so than today, but people still do it. We've done a book, The Boy, the Fox, the Mole, that has sold extraordinarily well, and it was based on art that was collected by someone. And the book has gone on to sell 1 million copies in a year, which is extraordinary.
Wow. Yes.
And I also, in my career, Zane, who wrote Addicted, was self-published. And as a self-published author, she had sold 50,000 copies. And I picked it up and we sold 2 million copies in a year. So I think it was like a year and a half, maybe. So yes, it does happen, and it happens often. You have to have substantial numbers normally, around the 5,000 copy range. And sometimes it just depends on the content of the book. Someone will pick it up based on content, not necessarily sales, but your profile is really important as an author. And Miss Payne had a huge profile. She'd been in the newspapers. She'd been mistaken for celebrities, a whole bunch. She had lived a life. People had been following her for years. And so in picking up her book, was easy. But trying to acquire a book is challenging because, there are over 100,000 books published each year. And if you think about it, how many do you actually hear about? And books are the most difficult thing to sell, I believe. And even being in the industry, I believe that. Because, I don't know if you've ever tried to give someone a book for free, and sometimes you got to convince them to take it. So, so the story really has to be strong. And so, and the story in Diamond Doris is really strong because, it tells you, I'm going to let her tell you about the things that are covered in the book. First of all, tell me, why did you decide to become a jewel thief? And then why on an international scale? Miss Payne was born in the 1930s. And so you imagine, this is a woman in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s, traveling all over the world. That's something extraordinary. So please, Miss Payne, tell us about that. What made you become a jewel thief? And then why internationally?
I hope you don't pass out on this. I never thought of, I did not think I was preparing to become a jewel thief. I think I was preparing to use keeping what the salesperson forget I got and find it. Then I got to find somebody who will sell it for me. But number one, I got to prepare myself. And so I never thought of it as an uphill struggle. It was just something I needed to do in order to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I wasn't stealing.
Exactly. So you had a craft and artistry that you were practicing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think had I convinced myself I was stealing, it would have lost some of its uniqueness.
Mm-hmm. Because every time you went out, you felt like it was a brand new.
No, I just went to get a piece of jewelry. There wasn't no major to do about it. It was a job,
Mm-hmm.
an interesting job.
A fascinating job.
And one that I needed a certain environment to practice in and then to function in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see. And so did you enjoy the lifestyle?
I was grateful. That's the baby Jesus now. I was grateful that I could do it and make my mom comfortable first. But I have an uphill climb. I've got to get my clothes together. And I knew from my own reading and observing, and I told you I saw some of Gone with the Wind,
Mm-hmm.
and
And you like those clothes in fashion.
I in the books I saw no clothing in the part of Gone with the Wind. I got the attitude, the language, the manner in which she spoke,
Mm-hmm.
the manner in which they serve their meals, polite things. Um, I knew some things if I needed to perfect or polish in order to operate at the level I hope to operate.
Mm-hmm. And so from the movies, you got the language and the mannerisms in which to go into the stores and accomplish your goals.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And in the magazines, you got the outfits and the look that you wanted.
No, in the magazine, I learned a lot about fashion,
Mm-hmm.
the simple things. But my mom, and thank goodness, your handbag and your shoes are the two most, or were the two most important uh, accessories that, or ornaments, or whichever you want to call it. I knew uh, those two items I had to have. Uh, and I also knew I had to get the habit of dining out at any level that I wanted to alone.
Mm-hmm. And so, do you have any regrets?
Um, you know, I'm just not going to shake that lie. No, I do not have any regrets. None.
Good.
Except uh, I don't have any. I really don't have any. I'm
I'm
grateful
glad you
to,
don't have any.
yeah, I'm grateful to baby Jesus. He let me get to where I'm at
Mm-hmm.
and can think and uh, take the beans to my mouth and all of those things. I'm well blessed. I must have
Mm-hmm.
done something right. It wasn't all that bad.
Exactly, because even in taking the jewels, it took a long time for you. What I learned from the book is it took a long time before people actually really tried to catch you. And why is that? How did the jewelry stores benefit?
When I upped the take
Mm-hmm.
in into the figures uh, on an international scale, uh, it was pretty harsh
Mm-hmm.
for just one piece.
I know one of my favorite stories is in France,
It's where
that took place in France. Do you remember this one?
Monte
Or
Carlo.
Monte Carlo. Mm-hmm. In Monte Carlo, and you told the maid, if I don't come back, there's something special for you behind the dresser or somewhere.
Uh, no, I did not. Um, Remember, I told you when we first met, I was having conflict uh, with with myself. The manner in which the things would happen or they happen uh, was not all that uh, earth shaking in that it's hard to write just repeating something someone told you uh, how she if I tell you how I if I tell you what happened, I'm not trying to tell you how I got it. You want to know how I got it. I shared that with you since the book was out. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's the only time a racial thought ever was on my mind in my life, as far as what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I came out the house uh, and haven't had uh, what my mom didn't know. She attempted to give us the free tools that might help us make it through the world, such as polite.
Mm-hmm.
I think I probably said this to you. I think how I got it,
Mm-hmm.
the movie and a book from the inception in my head to going to do it, a movie by itself. Just that idea, concept, and assurance. I, I, I didn't feel like I was going to the moon or hilarious. I just thought I just prepared to go to Monte Carlo.
Mm-hmm. And then the nuns helped you get out of jail, though, over there, right?
Uh, repeat that.
I said, and then the nuns helped you get out of jail, right? The nuns, remember?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was, and I still do. I think it's the funniest thing anybody could imagine. But I was able to do it because the school system in West Virginia, grade school, I I knew what countries bordered other countries from the Second World War in school. So I
Mm-hmm.
had some idea, ones that you can take a cab and get there. I got all those things from reading international books.
Mm-hmm. And you know that, and someone has a question related to that. You want me to
Okay.
ask you?
Yeah.
Okay. It says, Doris, how is it that you were able to travel internationally as a Black woman in a time period that you were working? So during the 40s and 50s, how could you have been able to travel internationally? Did you have a passport? What was going on?
I knew how to do those things from reading. Uh, Pretty well. I I knew what countries we had an embassy in. I know those. Uh, uh, I learned those things before I was in eighth grade. West Virginia has some great teachers. Yes, they do. Yes, they
Mm-hmm.
do. Yeah. Uh, I knew where some countries uh, bordered uh, other countries that you take cab, go uh, up the aisle between two houses, and things like that. Uh, anything, what is it? If it can be imagined, it can be.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why, one of the messages that I really love in your book is that whatever you do, be good at it and get all the information you need in order to do it, which I think is great as to why we're having this discussion today. So if you want to write books, yep, let's get all the information we need. And
Yes.
so, Ms. Payne, we have another question for you, which is, how did you get your literary agent? How did you find Scott Mandel?
A writer in Kathy Scott, I think that's her name, in Long Beach, was sent to me through the fellow who did the documentary.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because there's a documentary. There's a documentary on Miss Payne's life as well. And so I'm also going to let people know that in the back of a book, there are usually acknowledgments in the back or the front of the or the front of the book.
Uh-huh.
And it'll list the person's literary agent. So that's a way that you could find a literary agent, is if you said, oh, I read this book by so-and-so, I saw your name in there, and I'm reaching out to you because my book is similar in this way or that way, or simply, I love the books that you do. You've done this one, this one, this one, and I think that we could work well together. That's one way to get a literary agent. And another way is you can look it up online, literary agents, or in the Writer's Digest guide. There's a whole listing of literary agents, and there are many. And then someone else is asking you, Doris, how did you find your writing partner, your collaborator?
I met my collaborator and writer through Scott Mandel. I leaped on, it probably had to been $50 because I was very, very excited at the name Harper. It would not be some Gullion.
So you knew whatever writer we were recommending with Scott was going to be good. And her name is Zelda Lockhart. And Zelda Lockhart is an extraordinary writer, an award-winning writer, actually.
I met you before she, remember? I had to be more conscientious and in depth with you than she.
Yes.
That's me. That's doing my own thinking.
Yes.
I knew I could tell you all of it. Take a whole lot of time too. But perhaps, what is the saying? You don't have to be ignorant of everything, but don't let experience be your teacher. I knew Harper would not be having a jack leg talking to me.
That's right, because in all our authors, we make an investment with the advance. So we most definitely want to make sure people are partnered up properly.
Until I met Scott, I never met another human being who said I was worth more than $50,000. They thought it was awful that I thought I should get more. I'm telling you facts, awful. Uh-huh.
Well, I think all my people are valuable in so many ways. So, yes, that would not been enough for you. No way. And so you also have more questions.
Okay.
What was the most expensive piece you stole?
I stole.
Not stole. What's the most
um,
expensive piece you borrowed?
what you mean? What was the most expensive piece they wanted me to have? That's what I told my mom. Yeah, that's a
Okay.
joke. Okay, let me see if I can. Oh, I know the the jewelers to the crown in London.
And how much was that worth? I know you bought a house with one piece, but
That was it.
that was the
Uh,
piece.
uh,
And she bought a home in Shaker
I
Heights.
forget what it was, but I got 85,000 for it.
Mm-hmm. And 85,000 in the 1950s is worth, I hope
Multiplied
somebody,
by three.
oh, no, but it's more than that. I think
Oh
somebody
yeah,
should
in the French.
somebody should
In the
Google it and then you'll find out,
yeah,
I think it's $250,000, but I'm just guessing.
yeah. That's what the papers and things said, and that's what the ticket said.
Oh, okay.
Quarter of a
Okay.
million.
Cool. All right. And so there's another question for you, which is, um, tell us about your boyfriend.
Oh,
And
my
then B, did he turn you in? I'm dividing up
who?
that question. Okay.
Huh?
A, can you tell us about your boyfriend? B, did he turn you in?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so he did turn you in?
Uh-huh. He knew I was
Babe turned you in?
yep.
Oh, yes, I remember. Okay, I remember now. I remember and I remember why. Okay, all right. So can you
Yeah.
tell us about your boyfriend turning you in? That's what someone wants to know.
Um, no.
You don't want to talk about it?
It's not
I
we
know
don't
that.
want to
Go ahead. Sorry. Because I remember Babe telling you in the book that you must be prepared for when you get caught. Make sure you know the right lawyers, know the right people in town that could do something about
I
it.
got you. I'm
I
following
remember
you.
that. Mm-hmm.
Babe showed me that my customers are chosen from their background.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think I'm trying to show you the person who I sell a fine piece of jewelry to, is not a person who's going to get a dope case or do something and have to get out on bail. And he put the ring up that I sold him to get out on bail. He led me or showed me customers come from all levels in if a piece of jewelry is fine.
Mm. Okay.
When he knew I was going to self-surrender myself that day, he did. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then someone else asked, when you were like traveling around the world, as a Black woman, were people suspicious of you?
Oh, I think about the journey. I I didn't have those kind of thoughts. I don't think I ever in life was overly concerned about uh, what someone else thinks of me. It's what I think of myself uh, that that will determine that with her.
I see. I see. Okay. And then there's one last question. Um, and this one's for me, which is, what advice will you give to a self-published author interested in a major book deal? The advice I give you is to write the entire book, if it's fiction, if it's nonfiction.
I think my journey from Slab Fork to London and Monte Carlo, Tokyo, wherever I went, the tools or whatever I needed to perfect to get there. Think of this. Little girls got tables and chairs and sets of dishes and metal. We had playhouses that we played. What our moms displayed in her kitchen. And so I grew up very interested in, I could sleep in one bed, but I'd like a nice kitchen. So a lot of my childhood thoughts that, this is the best example I can give you. I was asked to share a room with another lady who was having a problem sleeping in the room with Blacks. And they decided, they looked up and saw me, they would try it with me. Well, I told the lady, she asked me, could they put her in the, why would you ask me that? You can put her anywhere you want if you want her in there. Okay. So they did. She sat on the bed. You got to see this. And she apologized to me for calling others niggers. She just didn't think I was one. And she can't help right now saying or living or being what her mother taught her about blacks. And I let her know right there, forget it. I'm not that way. When I understand you doing what your mom taught you. Let me tell you what my mom taught me. My mom would go to the grocery store, and I could sit in the swing on the porch and see her until she go in, and she could see me on the porch. I live close to the closest grocery store. And I said, and she told me, if I come off that porch and some white woman see me, she going to kill me and eat me because you all eat black babies. That's what I told her. That's the truth. She threw up. She vomited. She did everything. So that's how I thought about all of it.
Mm-hmm.
All of it. It never entered my mind ever in my life that I had to do something extra special. I got everything I wanted out the fashion book.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom sure put a Mary Wilson Lyle's Amy Vanderbilt behavior book. I practiced that in my playhouse when I'd be beating up Verna.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Yes. And these are the kind of rich, amazing stories that are in Miss Doris Payne's book, which I hope that you all will get. We're running out of time, and so I just have two minutes left. And so I just want to make sure I respond to any questions about publishing. And I so greatly appreciate your joining me, Miss Payne, and being my friend.
I appreciate and I highly respect it. All that you are is
Thank
what I
you.
hope I would get
Thank
if I
you.
was going to have a book written. Didn't I tell you this before?
Yes, you did. Yes, you
No,
did.
I did.
Yes, you
Yeah,
did. And I appreciate it very much.
that's what I leaned on baby Jesus hard for.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't there. I had a story. I still got one.
Mm-hmm. And that's the most important thing in getting a book deal is the person has to have a good story, a strong story, an original story. And if it's nonfiction, you can write a proposal. And a book
I,
proposal can be anywhere from 10 to 25 pages or even 50 to 60 pages. But you should also include your credentials because that's most important. We have to know the platform you have in which to move your book. And so I'm letting the audience know that. And then I'm showing you a couple books that are forthcoming to let you know the variety of books that we do at Amistad. This one is called Anti-Racist Ally. And this is how to be an ally to the race. We need as many allies as we can get. And Katrina Adams, who is the United States Tennis Association president, the first Black woman first Black person, period, as CEO of the United States Tennis Association. And her book is about what it takes being the only one. I have a spectacular graphic novel here that will appeal to all ages, everyone. The images and illustrations in this book and the power of the narrative is unforgettable. Infinitum. And We Are Each Other's Harvest, which is about Black people and land.
Mm-hmm.
And everything we brought from Africa and practices that are still used today. And of course, the discrimination that exists in the world. And also we have a new jacket on one of our classic titles, which is Zora Neale Hurston's Their Eyes Were Watching God. And this is, of course, a classic. And then I'm sorry to have to get up and show the rear, but I can't. Couldn't have gotten it without getting up. And I want to also show you a copy of Miss Tyson's memoir, Just As I Am, which we just published on Tuesday. And I hope that everyone will go out and get it. And I want to, because it is powerful and very memorable, just like Miss Payne's memoir. And Miss Payne, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. From my heart.
And thank you all.
All of you. Yeah.
And thank you all, Ms. Jackson, for having us. Thank you.
I like my questions.
Those were fabulous questions for you.
Thank you so much for being a part of this event. And Ms. Payne, I just, as a writer and as a Black woman, I am just so happy to have had the opportunity to meet you, to hear from you, to hear your story. It is amazing. And thank you so much, Tracey, for being one of the vehicles for her to tell that amazing story, along with so many other writers out there. So thank you both for being a part. We have questions coming in. So this is what I'm going to do is, Tracey, maybe in the future we can bring you back on and maybe we can get more questions in. If it's Payne, we can bring you back on and we can have more questions because the questions were coming in from so many different directions. But for the most part, we were definitely able to answer. You were definitely able to answer those questions. And so thank you so much. And I hope that you have a beautiful, beautiful night.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.